All right, Debbie, it's just you and I for this mid-whole 30 um, journey. Unfortunately, none of our comrades joined us tonight, which is cool. We'll catch up on next week. But so let's talk about you, your journey. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about your story too, your overall journey, and your whole 30. So, what's on your mind? What's going on?
Um, well, I will tell you that um, this time around is actually more difficult than last time. Um, and I think the difficulty comes in um, I'm really used to the whole 30 the clean eating part. Last
Mhm.
time I was completely concentrating on making sure that I stuck to the clean eating piece, the no sugar, the no whatever, and that was my focus, and it drove me. And now, for the most part, that's how I eat.
Right.
Um, so my non-whole 30 clean diet includes a couple of things that are probably cheap, but I seem to do that. My body doesn't mind it, and I can give up coffee. I'll even give up lattes, but I will not give up wine. So yeah, and wine is, I think, replaced sugar and chocolate is my stress reliever, if that makes sense.
Sure.
In the clean eating diet, um, somebody posted something today about being a binge eater. I don't know if I'm a binge eater as much
That was me.
as, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Lori responded and agreed that she does the same thing. I haven't looked at it in detail as to how you define binge eater. I skew to comfort when I'm stressed. And since I've given up sugar, was something I always skewed to, particularly chocolate. I've given up um, I've given up my lattes. Um, so a glass of wine has become I guess, my comfort cheat for stress. That's where I kind of go when I'm stressed,
Yep.
and much more so than I used to, because I used other things as my comfort. I would get junk food, or I would get chocolate or something. So um, right now I'm trying to come up. Not that a glass of red wine is a bad thing. It definitely runs counter to Whole 30, however. Um, so I'm trying to find things that are not alcohol and but are comforting. Like last night, I made a big bowl of guacamole. It's
Yeah.
it's a texture and comfort thing, and if I eat it, it's not like drinking sugar. Um, so that's kind of my struggle right now. Is I've replaced bad habits with better habits, but to try to get the benefit of this whole 30, um, I need to do I need to do a little more, if that makes sense.
Why do you feel like we? Because this is a pattern we all do. Like whether I do it myself with, for example, I was at the store earlier and I didn't need some water, but I wanted some flavor because I'm on such a strict diet. So I went for the sparkling water, which is, debatable whether that's really the best thing for me, right? But
Yeah,
I did
right.
it, I did it consciously knowing I'd be better having water, but something inside of me drove me to do it. And that's what my challenge is, but that's a similar idea to what you're facing,
It
right?
is a similar idea. It's an emotional response to stress or feeling deprived, I guess, or
Yeah.
um, you know. So yeah, I'm there, and I think a lot of other people are in our group probably have the same kind of thing. Um, We all have different stresses. I don't know how the moms do it. God bless them. I don't know how they work and keep kids in school and keep their sanity. Um, yeah, I work really long hours, probably longer. So everybody's situation is a little different. It's not all the same, but
Right.
we all respond to stress in some way.
Yep.
And I want to put something in my mouth.
What why probably I would assume from the instant feeling you get, right? Blood
Yes,
sugar
the
rush
instant
and
gratification.
yep. So I mean, this could benefit both of us and other ladies out there. What would be the alternative?
That's a very good question. Trying to come up with something, maybe kind of like making guacamole last night. I actually had a really healthy dinner. My friend Jimmy and Ward, they made a fabulous paleo beef stew and had that with them and had a really nice dinner. I came home, but I was still hungry.
Yep.
So I didn't reach for something
So that was
bad. I
hunger.
have
That was
avocados.
specifically hunger, though, right?
Yeah, I was there for a long time. We ate dinner, and then I was there for a long time. I came home, and I could do with something. And I mean, I had nuts. Nuts weren't going to cut it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what do I eat? And I have avocados. So I said, well, I'm just going to throw together some guacamole, and that's what I did. And I had just a little bit of it, and it was just enough. And
Yeah.
tonight I tossed the leftover in my chicken salad. So there it is.
That's really important though what you did there, because when you said what you did, you classified it as hunger, and when I just asked you, you said it was definitely hunger. So that's huge, because that's not a craving, right? That's an actual filling a hormonal, right? Which is exactly what that's the plus side of the whole thing. That's what they want us to get from this. So that's cool, and
Yeah,
that
I
should
was not particularly stressed in any way, but I did make a good decision. Now, last Friday, the decision was a little different. I mean, the dozen oysters I had for dinner were pretty darn good, and that was
yeah
Whole 30 compliant, but the glass
yep
of red wine was not.
yeah.
But it sure was darn good too.
I
And
challenge
I was
I
thrilled.
challenge you. No, I get it. I still challenge you to go without the wine. I know you could do it, and I know
Oh
it would
yeah,
make a difference
I did
for
it
you.
the last time. And I think it's because and again, I think it's because I'm used to the food and the way of eating. And
Yep.
post Whole 30, I added back in two things. I added back in my Greek yogurt for breakfast, and I added back in wine, red wine particularly. So yes, I need to not. I need to find something else to skew to. Um, I got to tell you, the iced tea and the flavor, then the lime sparkling water is just pouring beyond sin. But the
I
coffee,
think
black coffee, is just not cutting either.
I think the interesting thing about the Whole 30 is we have to look at it for what it is, and it's not a sustainable lifestyle for most people. For
Right.
most people just aren't willing to do it, and that's fine, because it's not the one way to live and eat. But the elimination and clean eating aspect of it, I think that's really cool, because I've talked with you about this before. When someone goes from not eating so well to doing it and going all in, they're going to get whatsoever, and maybe overeating and starts doing Weight Watchers could see an improvement. It's just kind of laying parameters and groundwork, right?
Right.
Except this is this.
Yeah, and I've done Weight Watchers and
Yep.
was reasonably successful on it, and I had the same challenges with um, I had the same challenges with the stress and skewing to something I would put in my mouth and skewed to bad food. The one thing the Whole 30 does do and did do for me in May when I did it, and continues to do for me. And the one good thing about this, trying the Whole 30 again, and I don't see the clean eating part going away. I do see about every 3 or 4 months maybe doing another, trying to do another whole 30 just to keep me honest, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because for me, it's the first sustainable, I want to call it a diet because quite frankly, I love the food and I eat the food. I'm not quite into Celeste's category of volume of eating good stuff. She's awesome.
She embraces it to a whole new level.
She does.
Because I think that it's helped her with her patterns and challenges as far as habits so much that she just owns it, which is great.
She does, and it's inspirational to me. So the one thing the Whole30 has done and continues to do is I just don't eat junk. I mean, I cook. Good grief, I have cooked more in the last, over the summer than I've cooked in the last several years.
Yep.
I don't have pasta in the house. I don't have bad foods. I've learned how to make healthy tortillas / crepes because I'm looking for ways to make this work and still have things I like. And you can do it.
How much of a difference was your eating before compared to now? Because I know you tested the waters with paleo before, since going off Weight Watchers. Like, what is it like night and day? Could you just give me, just so the other ladies that dial into this recording, what it was like before, what it's like now in comparison?
No sugar, no sweets, no sugar. The no 3 lattes, no 3 venti lattes a day, which at 240 calories a piece, even for a skinny latte, by the way, is just a lot of stuff. It's the amount of vegetables I eat, and the amount I cook is significantly different. I don't, I don't order a pizza and eat half of it for dinner and half of it for lunch the next day. So, I actually consciously eat fruit and nuts, and I don't, hit the candy bowl at the office. Now, I'm not perfect in that. Occasionally, I do grab a tiny piece of chocolate, but it's not something I'm doing every hour. I mean, even though I've eaten healthier, it's been very much a cycle. I'll eat healthy and then I won't, and I go back and forth. The Whole30 and this clean eating thing makes you plan meals. And that's another significant piece of I cook and plan what I'm eating for the week.
Yeah.
And that probably, in addition to getting rid of sugar, was the two things that were the biggest that are the biggest lifestyle change I've made.
So you would fall, because I think I'm not sure if you weren't there for the last meeting with us, were you?
No, I was not there, unfortunately.
I was whenever, I mentioned it at that meeting, but also whenever I talk about this to anyone new, because they always get scared off, is, what the heck do I do after? And I find that anyone, I mean specifically women, because that's really the only population I'm introduced to, is that they ball to the wall, like they changes. It's like when someone quits smoking and they go from being a smoker to not being a smoker, right?
Yeah.
Kelly Nyman, I think you might have brushed shoulders with her. Celeste would pretty much fall into that category where they embrace it as a lifestyle. That's one route that I see post Whole30. The other is where you eat to some near degree on a just a cleaner basis, and you're more conscious and aware, and you value yourself more, I think. And it sounds like you have fallen more on that path, right?
Yeah, I do. And part of the big piece for me is if I fall off the wagon and have a glass of wine like I did on Friday, I'm not going to beat myself up about it and say I've failed. No, this is something we're going to continue to do, and I like the 80% philosophy.
80/20 rule.
Yeah, 80% of the time I'm going to be pretty darn close to perfect. But, if I 20% of the time have a glass of wine or go to a birthday party and there's cake and I have a little cake, or, I can't tell you the last time I actually ate pasta, but,
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
Lose sleep over it.
yeah, and I'm not going to call myself a failure, because I think this is probably something that a lot of people who, in my situation, who've tried to do this over and over and over again, you get discouraged and you just, well, I've failed. I'm not going to, be successful. And the reality of it is you haven't failed. You've made a
Right.
detour in things, but are you living that 80/20? And I think as long as you're honest with yourself and keep that 80/20 kind of thing going, excursions are okay.
Right.
Something.
Yeah. Where are we as far as progress-wise for you specifically? Have you seen the scale move and or clothes fit better in the past month or so?
Yes.
How specifically?
I finally broke down and had to get new bras. I think I mentioned that. So everybody. I know.
Yep.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because the old ones were getting smaller. I haven't seen large dips in the scale, but some of that is I haven't been watching it every day. So, the weight that goes up and down, I'm pretty much I think at a plateau weight wise, but I don't think I'm at a plateau body shape size.
Right.
Because of the amount of working out we've done. I think that the shape of my body and my body parts, the belly's getting tighter and the legs are getting firmer and all those fun things are still continuing on. And, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to get back to this Whole30 again, even though I haven't been perfect on it. Hey, kitty cat. Is I just need to jump start again, and that's why I think I'll probably go back to doing this every 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
Because it keeps me honest and it keeps the bad habits away. So it's kind of a review period. Where are you at?
So that's actually cool you mentioned that, because and these questions and what I want to talk about next. So what I was going to go over tonight was basically, talk about what your challenges have been. We understand your challenges. We've talked about those a number of times on the calls and off the calls. What differences you've seen, which I should just ask you without even thinking about it. Also being honest with yourself, and that's what we've been talking about half this call as far as the wine and everything and your 80/20 approach. But also, 3 success secrets, which is something I want to segue into my first question for you, is what's your average meal like as far as balance-wise? Because I basically outlined 3 secrets to success, specifically if you're not seeing the results you want, or, if you're at least 14 days in. And the first secret, I think, is balancing out your meals. So I know the book gives you rough parameters. I think it's for protein, open, or I forget the different, specific ways of measuring
protein, it. Open palm with veggies and that sort of thing. I'm not too far off that, I think. I tend to, tonight, chicken salad with avocados and boiled eggs, and chopped up tomatoes in it with the paleo mayo, which may or may not be on the current diet, but I think everything in it is okay. So I probably went with a larger portion, but a lot of the ingredients in it were high in protein, and so that was kind of dinner. Tomatoes, avocados, protein, chicken, and boiled eggs. And then the fat was the paleo mayo. And I'm full. I'm fine with that. I probably had a 1.5 serving probably a little bigger than your fist size, but not too far off.
Not bad. I
So
can't emphasize
lunch,
the protein enough. Like especially this fairly intensive nutrition course I'm taking right now. Like the more and more I learn, because they break down the metabolic science of like how your body processes it through different pathways and all the crazy nutrition stuff, and it's incredible the difference between just from a macronutrient standpoint, what your body does with protein versus fat versus carbohydrates, and it's and if you're going to cheat in one of those three areas, protein is the one you do it. And there's a couple reasons why, but the coolest thing is basically there's what's called the thermic effect of food, which is like the cost to process the food. So fat, for example, if you have 100 calories of fat that you just ate, 5% of that gets burned to digest the fat. Protein, on the other hand, it can be around 30%. So it's like, and I would never factor that in if you're like counting calories, but that's a really cool fact because it should, knowing that it's A, least likely to be processed and stored as fat, and then B, on top of that, you're already burning like a third of it right from the get-go. That knowledge is power was when you're picking your meals. And ironically enough, if you go out to any restaurants, what's the least likely macronutrient to be on your plate is protein. It's wild. But when it comes to balancing meals, here's another thing I want to talk about. So since you've been at this for some time, you've done the Whole30, you're revisiting it, and you know your parameters, spot in, spot on. The third secret that I was going to bring up was how much you're eating, right? We just talked portion size roughly there. But I know it's a higher fat and higher protein diet, but we still want to, if you're not getting the result you want, whether, this be you specifically or just anyone listening to this call, we still have to look at the fat content, right? Because I binged on nuts, self-admittedly, when I did it, and the scale didn't really change, and it was probably because of that, because I was taking so many calories,
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you have 10,000 calories in one day, Whole30 approved, that's got to go somewhere, and it's not going to.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's still 10,000 calories.
Exactly. And I didn't want this to turn into a calorie counting preach. Actually, an interesting part of this course I'm taking is that they're saying, basically he's saying that the estimated calories on packages is estimate. And that there's the range for error is fairly significant, like 10 to 30%, which is nuts. And I think that's more on the end of the more processed the foods are, if they haven't been tested and then labeled. But even fresh veggies and stuff like that, the challenge with that is if you're getting something shipped from Mexico, and when it's ripening or maybe it's after it's ripe, that completely changes the chemical makeup of the micro and macronutrients. So it's not saying you shouldn't calorie count, but it's bringing up a very interesting point that is this the most reliable means, and I know Whole30 says not to calorie count, but I think that at some point the level you're at with how darn good you are with this, I think that it would be worth entertaining the idea if you want to see more progress.
And you're absolutely right. The last time when I was doing so well, I was counting everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was logging it and putting it up on the
MyFitnessPal.
MyFitnessPal. And I have not been nearly so diligent with that. And again, I think it gets back to I'm so used to what I'm eating that I've gotten kind of complacent with it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm gonna get back to is that I think that's that's the way I was so bloody successful last time, is I was counting everything. And I can tell you pretty much everything I eat, close to it anyway, what the calorie count is,
Yeah.
because I've seen it so many times now. But yeah, I can't disagree with that. But again, if you're just starting out, and because we've gone through this calorie counting thing multiple times here, before I even knew what healthy or clean eating and paleo was.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is if people are trying to do multiple things for the first time, they're trying to get their diet under control, they're trying to exercise, they're trying to do all these things. And you said this before, pick something and concentrate on that. And as you get comfortable, add stuff.
Right.
Because when we started this out and I was struggling to get through I don't think I could have wrapped my brain around. So, I mean, you have to start somewhere and then add to it. And to be perfectly honest, I've thought if there was a way I could get there more, I should add some boot camp classes because I think it would be really good change of pace. But, getting that into my schedule is hard. But again, I'm looking at what can I do to add. I know how to eat. I know what not to eat, and I know what to do with it. I just need to do it.
If I can give you one piece of advice to take to heart with this, it would be if it's not going to be a whole on calorie count approach, which I know you've done before and you've had success with, and if it's not going to be increasing activity level, it would be to predominate your meals with protein and go even more, maybe even reduce the fat intake a bit, just to see what happens. Because also something very interesting that I'm learning is that based on our genetic makeup, our level of carb sensitivity can vary. So some people can essentially get away with eating carb. It ties to insulin sensitivity, but also on a very basic genetic level, we're predisposed to another level of that essentially. So, some people get away with eating, that's why some people get away their whole lives with eating sugars and crap, terrible carbohydrates, not gain a pound and not, develop cancer or anything like crazy, But going back to the approach, this course is actually teaching me that the way we estimate our metabolic rate, which basically gives us a goal for calories, can vary, right? As I mentioned, the actual labeling and estimated calories per can vary. There's room for that. And when it comes to our activity level, that can vary. So it's saying that there's nothing specific, because we all want to do the perfect thing, the perfect solution plan, right?
Right.
But realistically, when it comes down to it, we just got to pick a plan, run with it, be consistent, and test, and just see if it's not helping us move forward, then we increase activity just a little bit, keep everything else remaining equal. Because too often, everyone tries to do everything at once perfectly, and it doesn't work, and they give up, or they just get too flustered trying to manage, all three aspects. So what I would say in your case, I would say, either add back in the calorie counter because you have that habit that you could just pick back up. And I think that would be good moving forward. Or just focus on looking at your plate and making sure that it's half protein.
Okay. Yeah.
I would encourage you to go the calorie counting route because I think it'd be interesting for you to see how many calories you're eating. Because based on with the guacamole, right? That could have been another 200 to 400 calories. We don't know. But at the same time, we don't know what you ate the rest of the day.
True.
So I think it'd be interesting. Just maybe these next 2 weeks, just track the food. I know it's not easy. It's not as easy with the complex recipes and stuff, but it might be worth a shot.
Well, I will tell you, it's amazing if you type in the name of the recipe you're making. A lot of times, I've found a lot of the paleo, type in paleo tacos or chicken or whatever, and I at least get something that's in the neighborhood.
Yep.
So I will do that. next 2 weeks, that's what I will do. Is I will track and I will try to be good.
Cool. Well, anything? We're gonna wrap up now. But anything else I can do for you, help you with?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
You keep rocking, Debbie. All right.
all right. We'll keep working
All
on
right.
it.
Thanks. I'm gonna go ahead and post this call for hopefully the ladies will get to the benefits of hearing your thoughts and experience and everything else.
Okay, John. Thanks.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you.